All right, here we are. I am revising my previous 10th video in the How to Play Blue Water Navy series, the video on bombing attacks. I made a couple mistakes and omissions that are important and need to be covered, and also that demonstrate, when I unmake the mistake, helps demonstrate parts of this game that I like so much. Um, if you've been listening to these videos, you notice I make errors in most of them. Some of the errors I make because I just don't have a lot of attention to detail. For instance, I had erroneously said in the original video that a single point of damage would cause light damage to these facilities. That's wrong. I just wasn't looking at the map correctly. You need two hits to damage the Cola facilities one way or another. To cause light damage, I should say. A hit is a hit, but to put it in light damage status, you need two. Most of the other mistakes I've made, though, are the result of this. There are errata for this game, as there are for just about every war game I've ever played, and there are rules available for download that incorporate the errata into them, so that rulebook is complete. And I frequently look at the printed rulebook that came with the game, and because I'm not so good at reading and retaining information, I'm not good at collating the errata that I've read with the rules that I've read. If I were referring to the most recent version of the rules, I wouldn't be making quite as many mistakes. So I urge you to download the most recent version of the rules and utilize them as you are attempting to play this game. All right, let's bomb the Soviet airfields. So, the United States has got two task forces that each have two carriers in them, and somehow they've managed to sail unmolested into the Barents Sea with no Soviet forces in sight, and so they're launching a bombing attack. This would not happen in a real game. This is for demonstration purposes only. The bombing attack might happen in a real game. So a couple things to know. The strike is including 4 escort fighters, and it has 4 carrier air groups. The Soviets get to fly their fighters in defense from the airfield. They're flying combat air patrol. The Soviets get to pick a number of fighters equal to either the number of escorting fighters or equal to the number of strike aircraft. In this case, those numbers are 4 each, so the Soviets get to pick 4. If there were 3 of one type and 4 of another, the Soviets would still get to pick 4. They don't have to. They can send fewer if they want. Let's look at the Soviet fighters here. They've got the MiG-31 Foxhound. This is their best fighter. They have the fighter rolls 4 dice with a +2 modifier. They have the MiG-25 Foxbat that rolls it rolls 3 dice with a +1 modifier and has a 9 defense. And then they have these MiG-23 Floggers, which you notice have 0 range, which means they can only do defense here in their zone or escort a mission into the zone. And they roll 3 dice at +1. They have less defense too. So the Soviets, excuse me, let me just start a log file here. I'm going to also be narrating a log because I've already gone through this log. So the Soviets are going to fly the MiG-23 Floggers and the MiG-31 Foxhound in defense. So they're going to get 4 dice at +2 and 9 dice at +1 trying to defend the unit. And so there's here are the 4 dice for the MiG-31, and that's only one of those is going to hit. That's a 9, which is a modified 10. We're going to talk about a natural 9 in just a minute. Now the dice for the MiG-23 Floggers are going to get rolled. Then we have another natural 9, and we have a modified 9. Now, the defense for the American units is 9. Normally, the fighters would soak up the damage. There are exceptions to that in an escorted airstrike. In an escorted airstrike, if it's a cruise missile attack, a natural 10 will damage a strike aircraft before it's able to launch its missiles. If it's a bombing attack, which this is, a natural 9 or a natural 10 will damage a strike aircraft before it's able to drop its bombs. And so And this is a bombing attack, and I should cover that a little bit here. You see the NATO aircraft, they have a 6 missile rating, but that's a blue background. A blue background missile is an anti-ship missile. It cannot attack land targets. There are a couple of units in the game that have NATO units that have green background missiles. Those are the Tomahawk land attack missiles. They can attack land facilities, but the anti-ship missiles cannot. The Soviets have a bunch of options for attacking land facilities with their different colored missiles. You can find them in the rules. So this is a bomb run, and I also said in an earlier video erroneously that the number of missile points was equal to the number of bomb dice. That is not correct. Each step of a strike aircraft that makes a bombing run gets to roll a single bomb dice. So if these 4 strike aircraft make it all the way to the airfield without being damaged, they're going to roll 8 bomb dice. That probably won't happen. So the Soviets have taken down 2 strike aircraft before they're able to make their bomb runs, and the modified 9 is going to be absorbed by the fighters. So in my log, you're going to see me roll a 1. I'm not sure why I did that. You're going to see me apply the damage here. There we go. So the strike aircraft, 2 of those units have been damaged, and the F-14 has been damaged. And now the F-14s get to fire, and the firing is simultaneously, so the damaged fighter fires all 4 of its dice. So there are 16 dice going to be fired here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. The rolling player allocates hits. So if I were actually the Soviet player and I had 2 hits on strike aircraft, I would not choose to reduce 2 strike units. I would choose to eliminate 1, but I'm going to talk about why I did not do that for the purposes of this video. So the NATO player has dealt this natural 10 can go to the Fox Sound. Here's a modified 8, a modified 8, a modified 8. So that's going to be 4 hits that the Russians have to absorb. Here come the hits. That is that. So now the Russians are not defenseless. The Russians have this unit here, a surface-to-air missile unit. This unit gets 3 dice in defense against airstrikes, and it gets a single dice in defense against cruise missiles. So this is a handy thing to have. Now, NATO, the attacking player on either side is allowed to dedicate a certain number of bomb dice or missile dice if it's a cruise missile attack to suppress the surface-to-air missiles. I've always in my life thought that that was pronounced SEAD, S-E-A-D, but I've just recently heard a fighter pilot in a video call it SEAD, so I think they call it SEAD. You may hear me go back and forth between those 2 pronunciations. They mean the same thing. So if you look at the player aid, attacking land targets, the brown player aid, it says, what we just said, there's 1 die per step, and it also says U.S. carrier air groups get 1 free SEAD per 2 CAGs, and that's the reason that for this demonstration I left all 4 carrier air groups out here, and it's the reason I would not do that if I were the Soviets. And this is another part of what I love about this game. These counters here, they don't represent just 2 aircraft. Each counter represents the entire strike package of a United States aircraft carrier. That's a lot of aircraft. And it's not only the A-6 Intruders that have the heavy bombs. They also have a number of EA-6 Prowler electronic warfare aircraft. If you've ever played the computer game Command Modern Operations, it replicates this beautifully. I think about that game all the time when I play this game. If you haven't played that game and you like computer games and you like this game, you should give it a go. It's brilliant. So this game, one of the reasons I like this game so much is because in my mind it replicates so much of what happens in Command. So for every 2 carrier air groups that make the attack, there are enough of those electronic warfare assets to provide an extra seed die for the suppression roll. And so for our demonstration purposes, I left all these aircraft here so that the NATO player would have 2 seed dice available to try to stop the SAMs. If you were the Russians, you would obviously kill one of the airstrikes instead. You'd have the same effect on the total number of bomb dice, and you'd remove a seed die. But here we go. So NATO is going to roll 2 dice for SAM suppression. And here they go. I think this is what you're going to see next on the log. There we go, 4 and a 6. Okay, so now you look at the player aid again, and it talks about SAM suppression, and it says on a roll of 1 to 2, there's a miss with no effect. On a roll of 3 to 5, there is -1 SAM value temporary, and on a roll of 6 to 8, there is -1 SAM value place a hit. And what that means is this: the lower roll is going to keep a SAM die from firing. The higher roll is going to damage the SAM unit, which keeps the SAM die from firing on this attack and on all future attacks. So I'm pretty sure the next thing you're going to see in my log is me applying that hit. There you go. So, and again, think about what this is representing, right? The bombers are coming in, the EA-6 Prowlers are behind them. They're firing off anti-radiation missiles at the Soviet radar station. One of the Soviet radar operators flinches, sees the incoming radiation missile, decides to save his own life instead of save the motherland, shuts down the radar before the missile can launch at the enemy airstrike. The other brave guy keeps his radar on, but boom, the anti-radiation missile takes his unit out before it gets to defend the motherland. So, who was the better soldier and who was smarter? You decide. Yeah, again, what I like about this game, right? The things that you can imagine happening behind the scenes here. So in any case, now there's a single die left for the surface-to-air missile unit, and I think this is the next thing you're going to see in the log. There it is. It rolls an 8. You go back to the player aid. And again, it says 6+, ignore 1 bombing die, greater than or equal to the defense value, you 1 attacking step loss, and ignore 1 bomb die. So that is an 8, so that means one of the bomb dice is not going to fall, but it doesn't actually kill the aircraft. What it means in my mind is, just as the aircraft was lining up to make its bomb run, a missile flew up out of a launcher, and the pilot had to yank his stick to the left in a wild evasive maneuver and sent his bomb into the bay instead of into the facility where it was aimed at. And so the U.S. is now down 1 bomb die, and we're going to look at how many steps they have. They have 6 steps of carrier air units remaining, so that means they have 5 bomb dice. Now, we got to talk about the COLA facilities here specifically. The COLA facilities are 2 different facilities. One of them is a port, and one of them is an airfield. And in fact, the airfield is 2 different facilities. We're going to talk about that next. First, we're going to say that at this point, NATO has to say how many of its bomb dice are being allocated to the port and how many are being allocated to the airfield, and it rolls them separately. We're going to do airfield only on this attack. So here come the U.S. bomb dice attacking the airfield. 2, 7, 10, 9, 10. Now look at the player aid, and it gives you a die roll modifier for the bombing attack. There are 2. One is a -1 for bad weather, and one is a +1 for if some range to target not used. Notice that the strike aircraft have a range of 1, and they are attacking from the very zone that is adjacent to the facility. So they are attacking at range 0. They have some range remaining. That means that their rolls are modified by 1. If the carriers had been based out here in the Norwegian Sea, they would have not had that modifier. If it had been a long-range attack with tankers, the modifier might apply. I haven't covered tankers in my videos. Probably should have. Yeah, I think it's straightforward in the rules. You can get how that works on your own. If you really want a video about that, let me know and I'll fire one up. So the United States has the 2 is a miss, right? If you look at the bombing table, a 1 to 3 is a miss, so the modified 3 is a miss. But then they've got a modified 8, a natural 10, a modified 10, and a natural 10. The modified 8 is 1 hit with 1 kill for collateral damage, so that's going to cause a hit to the airbase, and it's going to cause the Soviets to lose a step of air units. And the other 3 are the 2 natural 10s and the modified 10 are going to do 2 hits and cause 2 kills. So that is a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hits and 7 kills to aircraft. Now, it specifies this in the rules. It talks about how in the Kola Air Base, in the Kola Air Facility, there were airfields that housed fighters and there were airfields that housed bombers. And NATO has to decide which of those airfields are going to take the hits. So NATO at this point would say, so I've got a total of, 7 hits. I'm going to put 3 of them on fighters and 4 of them on bombers. and then you start to allocate the hits. The attacker allocates odd number hits. The defender allocates even number hits. So the first hit is going to be allocated by NATO. NATO is going to say we're attacking the bombers, and we're going to allocate it to one of those backfires there. And the second hit that NATO is going to say, okay, that's also going to the bombers. And the Soviets are going to say, all right, we're going to go ahead and take a hit on this aircraft here. And the third hit comes, and NATO's going to say, yeah, we're going to shoot it at the fighters, and we are going to eliminate this good MiG-31 Foxhound. Yes, collateral damage can be assigned to units that are in the air during the bombing attack. I'm not sure what that's representing. The fighters have landed after combat air patrol, or the damage is so great that they can't make it back to base. Whatever it is, boom. Right? So you see how that works, right? NATO determines which of the airfields the bombs land on, and then if it's the NATO turn to allocate a hit, it also picks the air unit that takes the damage. If it's the Soviet turn to take the hit, or to allocate the hit, it picks the air unit that's being damaged. I hope that makes sense. That was a hard thing for me to get my head around. I had to ask a bunch of questions on the forum. Al Cal, who's been my hero in these videos, laid it down for me, and the designer Stuart came in and confirmed what he was saying. So that is, I have it on good authority, how it works when you are allocating hits to a bombing attack. So that right there is the revised bombing video. I believe that I have handled everything. There would be 7 hits on the airfield at this point. Let's just go ahead and do that so you can see what it looks like. The airfield would have 7 hits. And there we go. Boom, 5, 6, 7. And so this airfield is going to be effectively out of commission for a long time, right? The Soviets are probably going to have to try repair actions, which you have to make a roll on, using up their operational points. If NATO ever was able to launch an attack like this against the Kola airfield and have this kind of success, the commander would be very, very happy. This, however, is just a demonstration. I think that in real life, in playing the game, you might have different results. I hope that you try for yourself and find out. I know I'm playing a game as NATO. I'm going to try to get some aircraft carriers up there and damage these facilities. A thing to know in the campaign game, just in case you're wondering, is that the Soviets are very sensitive about these facilities being damaged. And in my campaign game video, I mentioned first strike points. Every time you hit every hit you score on a Soviet airbase, every time you damage it, it gives the Soviets a first strike point. So this does a lot of damage, but it also gets the Politburo really rattled up, and those first strike points help you in the campaign game in ways I will not explain here. I am rambling on for too long. This is the revised video on bombing attacks, and as far as I know, it's the last video I'll be making, at least until the Pacific game comes out. So, yeah, thanks for listening.